Great news! There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic, Trey Wingo here with you. And I just got to say right off the bat that I could not be more simpatico with Junior in that little sound there. Deathly afraid of what we're doing with the robots.
I don't know why more people aren't afraid of that.
Yeah, I mean, not so much for the strike zones in baseball. No, that's a separate discussion.
No, that's a discussion we'd have on why new ways and why guys get kicked out of games.
Correct,
yeah.
And we'll get to that, Ben Zobrist. But the thing that I find amazing, when you see all these videos from, there's a big research center up in Boston and all these other places, the things they're making the robots do, run, jump, squat, open doors, use weapons. Have we not seen the movies? We are just beginning the architect of our own demise.
Listen, we can go all the way back to, what was it, Matthew Broderick in that movie, War Games?
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
How about a nice game of chess?
Go back all the way then.
Yeah.
The guys behind the glass weren't even born when that movie was made.
1996.
And it was going on then.
Look it up.
It was going on then.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, don't give the robots intelligence.
I mean, we
seriously.
don't need Skynet, okay? We don't need another little hurdle towards Skynet.
They'll turn on us.
Of course they will.
Heartbeat.
And we are the ones that are facilitating this.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. Junior, I could not be more with you.
We are building and creating our own successors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Allie, the show eraser,
Allie.
she wants to erase the human race.
What is that? Allie doesn't believe in robots?
She doesn't believe in robots. And that's the thing. They want you to not believe.
Tricking you, mind
games.
games.
They're setting the trap, man. Allie, come on.
I'm definitely afraid of it.
Yeah,
definitely afraid of it.
Oh, that's over.
That was a little rant by us. Sorry,
I just,
but, I did. I heard Mike talking about it coming in, and I gotta believe there's got to be a decent amount of people that agree with us.
If you're not afraid, you're not paying attention. Yeah. That's absolutely true. And you may not be paying attention because you're involved in fantasy football.
Well, there you go. Very true.
So we may be part of the problem here.
That's true.
We just finished our fantasy football marathon on ESPN, and congratulations, almost 1.9 million signed up through ESPN.com or downloading the ESPN Fantasy app.
That's great. It's always a fun marathon thing to listen to these guys. For Matthew Berry staying up as long as he does, but all the great info that you're going to get and all the people that draft, and you hear all the great stories of what winners get, but more importantly, if you lose if you're in last place, what happens to you. It's just a lot of fun. And listen, the sports world has accepted this, and if you haven't, then you're behind the eight ball. Yeah. Okay, you have to accept it, and you have to play, and you have to use it. You have to make it a function at these stadiums so people can get the information that they want, which I think football is realizing and starting to do. They need to do that. I think it's a great day, a great 29 hours or whatever it is. But 1.9 million. I mean, that again, I had not bought in to the fantasy football thing.
Yeah,
teams, the drafts, and all that. But I mean, you have to. It's one of those things, again, get in line or get stepped on.
That's exactly right.
So I'm getting in line. I get it. I get it, people. I understand.
And one of the great things about fantasy football, it's not so much whether or not you win. You just don't want to lose.
You don't want to lose. It is.
That's a part of it.
You love to win.
Yeah.
But that's the choice.
Don't be last.
I mean, do not be last. That's exactly right. This is one thing where if you're in the middle of the pack, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, it's just, it's like, getting a ring for going to the Sweet 16, which we will get into, by the way.
Who would do something like that?
Apparently one school in particular, and maybe more. We don't know. We'll get into all of that throughout the show, but let's start without the robots, like we normally do, with what's trending. Although I got to tell you, this guy's hitting like he's a robot.
He is unreal.
Another day, another leadoff home run for Ronald Acuna Jr., who led off the Braves' 10-6 win over the Marlins with a home run. Acuna Jr. would actually add another home run later in the game. He's now homered in 5 straight and in 7 of his last 8 games.
Ridiculous what's going on. 19 home runs, a leadoff home run in 3 straight games. The record is Brady Anderson. He did it in 4 straight games in April of 96. So Acuna got that chance to do it in the next game, lead off with a home run. And, oh, by the way, we wondered about, the Nationals and Bryce Harper. Would they trade him? They were going to just kind of hang? But not a lot of people bought into the Phillies and maybe even Atlanta. Well, the Phillies have started to come down a little bit. Atlanta, 2-game lead over the Phillies now. Washington now 8 back. They've fallen further. So understandably there. But the Atlanta Braves, the young kids 20 years old. Yeah. Think of what you were doing at 20 years old, and then compare it to this guy, and then go back to bed and pull the covers over your head, which is something I'm going to do.
Yeah, and realize that you have accomplished nothing. By the way, speaking of everybody's watching him, this was his own manager, Brian Snitker, talking about, did that just happen again?
I mean, Freddie and I are sitting there, he's in the hole there, and we're looking at each other like, my God, are we really seeing this? I mean, and the explosions when he hit him, too. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty good.
So, again, he's 20, so he hasn't been A, in the league long, and B, hasn't been a leadoff hitter all that long. He has 12 leadoff home runs this year. All the other Braves combined who were leading off in that leadoff spot before him have 10.
Yeah.
All the other ones. He has 12. He has 2 more than the other ones combined who were leading off before he now has that job. Incredible.
It's ridiculous. And we said he's homered in 5 straight and 7 of his last 8. If you're wondering what's the record for most consecutive games with a home run, 3 people can lay claim to that. It's 8. It's Dale Long. Of course, we all remember Dale Long. And then a couple of people you might be more familiar with, Don Mattingly and Ken Griffey Jr.
There you go.
So those are the people that he's chasing, and it's just really a lot of fun. And Ronald Acuna Jr., what he's doing is what everybody's talking about. Brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the know start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. As we continue with what's trending, hey, Robinson Cano is back after that 80-game suspension. Went 1 for 4 in his return to the Seattle lineup after serving that 80-game suspension for PEDs. But the Mariners fell to the A's. With the win, the A's move within 1 game of first place in the AL West.
That's because the A's are playing well in Houston. They haven't won a home game since July 14th. They're losing 9 straight. They are not playing well right now, and Oakland is. So Oakland a game back. I believe it was the Astros lost to Colorado here. Yep. So this nice race. The Seattle is 3 back out of that second wild card spot, which is held by Oakland right now. So Seattle's battling for that 3. I believe 3.5 back from that one, 3.5 back from that one. But Houston faltering, A's playing well. Seattle gets Cano back. But remember, if Seattle were to make the postseason, Robinson Cano can't play in the postseason because he's just coming back from suspension for PEDs. And that's part of it. If you come back during the season, that's fine if you serve your time. But if your team makes it to the post, you are not allowed to play in postseason games.
I tell you what, you know who's really nervously watching what happens with the Houston Astros right now? Would be the New York Yankees. Because let's say, for some reason and somehow the A's managed to win that division, the second wild card would be the Houston Astros. And that pitching staff in a one-game playoff against the Yankees?
1 game.
I think the Astros would feel pretty comfortable playing that 1 game if it's in Yankee Stadium with the pitching staff that they might be able to roll out there.
I just love the race going on, the strategy at the end of the year, how much you win it for the division. Yeah. If you're close to that, how do you do it? Because you want to set up your best pitcher for that 1 game playoff spot. So it's going to get very, very interesting. And I'm glad at least we have one division where there are 3 teams involved now with Seattle. Obviously, in the NL East, you have the Braves and the Braves and the Phillies. See if the Nationals can get back to it. Not many people think they can. The Cubs, the Brewers, and the Cardinals. The Cardinals making that run now. They're just 4 games
after firing their manager. Yeah.
And then certainly in the NL West, you have 5 games separating the top 4 teams in that division.
Well, it's just crazy. And again, the Astros' 9th straight loss at home. Now, I have to believe, as talented as they are, they'll find a way to win that division.
Right.
But especially with the struggles from Luis Severino right now that he's had in his last, 7 starts for the Yankees.
Right.
And then you get maybe Dallas Keuchel or one of, Verlander. I mean, in a 1 game, run it all you want. Run it all you want.
We still have that thing.
Yeah, it's just crazy. By the way, quick update from one of the stories we did yesterday. Shout out to our guy, Ethan Sonneborn, the 14-year-old from Vermont. 8.2%.
That's it, huh?
Gave it a shot for the Vermont State primary.
He got 8.2%, though?
He got 4,600 votes. So good for him. Good for him, Ethan
Impressive.
Sonneborn.
Keep an eye on that name.
Also, Field Yates. They're the same person.
There you go.
As we continue with what's trending, Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger is now in the concussion protocol after getting hit in a practice on Tuesday. And if you're saying to yourself, how does a quarterback get hit in practice? Well, it wasn't a defender.
No, it was not. So what happened? He was rolling right on a goal line play, and it was his right offensive tackle. Marcus Gilbert was blocking Keon Adams, the linebacker, and they were engaged, and basically Roethlisberger ran into them and fell down. And when he fell down, his head snapped back and hit the ground because obviously you're not allowed to hit the quarterback. So much, I mean, Ben doesn't even need to wear a red jersey anymore because you just know there's the known cone around a quarterback.
The cone of integrity.
Says, do not touch that quarterback. But, yeah, he ran into the players and fell, and his head hit the ground, got up, and his teammate said right there, he said, I'm fine, but he's in concussion protocol. I think the last time he was in concussion protocol was 2015. We know he usually gets an injury each year or something, and then we know he'll tell you about it.
Correct.
As well. But listen, before the season even starts to be in concussion protocol. Now, he's not playing this week against Green Bay. There's no need for him. He wasn't going to play anyway, so it's not like anything is getting thrown off here other than the fact of you obviously keep an eye on this guy and see where it goes with the protocol.
By the way, we have to chastise Allie one more time because she's our great show eraser and she handles the social. She put up on Twitter, so Golic and Wingos have an irrational fear of robots. What's your irrational fear and why? And I'm like, no. We don't have an irrational fear. We have a rational fear of
That's
robots.
A legitimate fear.
If you don't have that fear, you're being irrational.
That's exactly right.
But anyway, that's what she's putting out there on the Twitter feed. Mm-hmm. Allie, man, wake up, man. They'll come for you. Skynet is happening, and you better be prepared to deal with it. Speaking of being prepared to deal with stuff, Dez Bryant is going to meet with the Cleveland Browns, and depending on how things go, he could stay a while. The free agent wideout has scheduled a visit with Cleveland tomorrow, and the anticipated stopover could lead the three-time Pro Bowler to signing with the team who have some depth issues at wide receiver now.
They do. I heard on Sports Nation yesterday, I heard Sean Merriman talking about this. He does not think it would be a good idea to put Dez Bryant in a young locker room like that, where a team that's just starting to build and trying to get a new identity to maybe add this in the locker room. You know, a locker room that's got the kid Antonio Callaway, who made that nice run after the slant pass throw by Baker Mayfield. But he's got all those issues. Yeah. He had issues in college. He's got issues right now, to which Hugh Jackson said, I'm going to believe you, but if you prove me wrong, there's going to be big trouble.
Right.
You got the Josh Gordon situation. When's he going to be on the field? Can he stay on the field? Do you want to add something like this? Jarvis Landry, who's been, incredible for Cleveland early on, in his short tenure with the Browns after coming over from the Dolphins, is obviously all for it. That would be interesting to me, Trey. I'm not going to lie. If Dez Bryant does have some choices out there, as he kind of leads us to believe that he does, listen, I'm from Cleveland. I love Cleveland. I want the Browns to do better. But let's be honest, the Browns are a ways away from competing for a title, right? So if Dez does have options, and options are with teams that are closer, I would be surprised if this is where he would be signing, if in fact he does sign here.
Yeah, it's interesting, though. I mean, Dez is sort of, I still think he can play and play at a pretty high level. I'm just not sure he's helped his cause much with the way he's gone out there on Twitter, talked about teammates and all that kind of stuff. And I know he says, I'm responding to what they said about me, and I get that, to defend yourself. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for work, you want to make sure that you are putting out the best job application that you can out there. And I think sometimes what he does is detrimental to them.
So again, to Sean Merriman's words, is it good to maybe have this guy in a young locker room for a team trying to rebuild their identity?
Yeah,
it's an interesting question.
It is, and I'm curious, and we'll see it on Hard Knocks the next episode, just how much that meeting goes down with John Dorsey, Hugh Jackson, and Dez Bryant as they decide whether or not they're going to go down that road with him. All right, Golic and Wingo is presented by Progressive Insurance, cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. Well, there was a fascinating press conference yesterday in the middle of the afternoon, 2 o'clock in Eastern time to be specific, or a little after that, from the University of Maryland over what's going on in the wake of the death of 19-year-old Jordan Jenkins, the offensive lineman who suffered heat stroke, it appears, and passed away a couple of weeks after suffering heat stroke during a workout. There have been a lot of things that have gone on since then. DJ Durkin, the head coach, has been on administrative leave. Several members of the training staff.
Yeah, just to get them out there, Director of Athletic Training, Steve Nordwell, and the head trainer, Wes Robinson, are both on paid administrative leave.
And they're beginning a complete and exhaustive review. And at that press conference, both the athletic director, Damon Evans, and the president of Maryland, Wallace Lowe, made some remarkable comments, beginning with President Lowe.
We went there this morning to meet with the parents of Jordan McNair, and I want to meet with them in private to express, on behalf of the university, our apology for the loss of their son. I said to them, and I said I will be mentioning it publicly this afternoon, but I wanted them to hear it directly from me this morning. The university accepts legal and moral responsibility for the mistakes that our training staff made on that fateful workout day of May the 29th, which of course led subsequently to his death on June 13th.
Real quick question. I said Jenkins is Jordan McNair. I apologize.
So when I first heard him come out, because it was late, it started where everybody was waiting. It was about 25 minutes late. This presser started. And I heard Paul Finebaum, Joey Galloway, and others talking leading up to it. And then when the president came out and said this, one of the first things I thought was, good for them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of questions. Why did it take so long? Was it just in relation to the report? And we'll get into all of that. But when is the last time, before basically the official report on the death of the player came out, before an independent a study and investigation was done, that's still going on, all of this is still going on, that a school will come out and say, we take moral and legal responsibility for the death of this young man.
Yep.
So I can't remember the last time. A lot of times you hear, let's wait, due process, and they did bring that up when we started talking about the coach. Again, we'll get into it, but I have reasons why I think they did that with the coach and what they did here. But I'm not going to lie. I was impressed because I usually don't hear that.
Right.
Usually it's, okay, how do we cover ourselves legally? What do we have to? We always have to be careful of what we say because for the legalities of this. Well, not here. They accepted it. We are legally and morally responsible for the death of this young man, of Jordan McNair. I mean, I was pretty surprised how strong he came out with that.
You and I had the same reaction, and we texted each other when we saw that coming out. I did it just so people understand how different this is. I'll give you an example. Remember that horrific shooting in Las Vegas?
Yes.
What, 537 people were shot? Well, the attorneys for the MGM Hotel are suing all the people who were shot, and they're doing it to avoid multiple lawsuits against them. And the point is what you said. Maryland said, no, this is on us.
Everybody's trying to cover themselves. They're not right now.
The exact opposite is going on in that situation at that hotel, and for legal reasons.
Right.
Maryland's not playing in that arena. They're not doing that. They're saying, we own this, we understand this. And what you just alluded to is also really interesting, because then President Lowe announced that, yes, we have an ongoing investigation, and we'll get those. I think they said in early September.
Right.
Those that we'll have everything going, because he said we did believe in due process, but he also said, look, through this process of going through the due process, we've come across some things that we think we've made some mistakes.
We have looked at the preliminary observations that were given to me and to others. Some of our policies and protocols do not conform to best practices. Some of the actions of our athletic training staff, not the coaching staff, the athletic training staff, well, they basically misdiagnosed the situation. No vital signs were taken. Other safeguard actions that should have been taken were not. For me, that was enough to say, I need to come and personally apologize.
Listen, and Joey Galloway, there's definitely a number of tentacles here.
Yeah.
When you are doing sprints and runs like this, there are definitely people that are tired, that are bent over, that you wonder about, but then keep running. So I understand all that. But a lot of times it's pretty evident when somebody has crossed that line, even though there are a lot of people out there. And then to not even do just the baseline things. Baseline things blows my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, and then when you see he's really in trouble, how are you not doing any of that?
Yeah, that's the thing that I took away. They said his temperature wasn't taken. There was no cold immersion. These are basic things, Mike, that unfortunately we learned in the NFL in 2001 from Corey Stringer.
I mean, how long ago was that? And
2001.
How much have we learned from that to not understand that? So I'm just amazed. And again, these were the preliminary observations, but Maryland has said, listen, we heard enough. Yeah. We screwed up here. The people we hired screwed up here. And one is gone, and Rick Court, the strength and conditioning coach. I can't believe the head trainer, Wes Robinson, who is on paid administrative leave, still has a job. He won't.
Yeah.
He's going to be gone. The coach is going to be gone. Then we're going to get into
that.
No shot he's going to be back at all. But I'm amazed when I heard that basically nothing was done.
Yeah.
And we're just going to find out more and more. And the president and the AD did go to the parents of Jordan McNair. They went to their house and talked to them, and the parents, through a statement through their lawyers, seemed very appreciative of that. And they said once they get the findings, which will go public, they said they're going to take it to the parents first and let them look at it and go over it and everything like that. So, but it does. I thought, and you agreed, how strong it came out, but I'm not going to sit there and question people who are a little cynical and say,
correct,
why did this thing take so long to come out?
Well, that is the only part I think that comes into question here, because they did have a review in June after the death of Jordan McNair, but it wasn't until the Culture article on ESPN.com came out they decided to take a deeper dive. And that's a fair criticism.
Yes, it is.
But once that was put out more into light, this is when they decided maybe we didn't do enough the last time around. They're taking that deeper dive. And we'll get into what this means for DJ Durkin and the rest of the coaching staff and the rest of the training staff after that. And there's some very strong comments on that.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
Well, as we continue here on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can get in touch at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed or our voicemail line, 860-506-5505, to let us know what you think. As we continue this conversation, Mike, about Maryland and what happens in the wake of the death of Jordan McNair and the investigation that's ongoing, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So we've already seen that there have been, and there are probably going to be, more significant ramifications for the training staff over what did, and maybe more importantly, what didn't happen with Jordan McNair on that fateful day in May, which led to his death in June, 2 weeks later from heat stroke. And then that leaves us to the question of what happens to the coaching staff. And I think Joey Galloway, who was on as we carried the press conference live on ESPN2 yesterday with Paul Finebaum and others, made a very interesting point about a line of demarcation for what a coach does or doesn't do in certain practices, or things that he is responsible for or isn't responsible for.
Coach Durkin isn't going to take anybody's temperature. Coach Durkin isn't going to make sure anybody gets in cold water. I think there is a clear separation between those two things, and I believe that's why they came out and said what they were saying. Look, this was the training staff's issue of not following this protocol. Acho, I don't know if you've been coached differently than I have. I've never seen a coach come into the training room to see if somebody's getting their temperature taken. Once that has gone on to the training staff, every coach I've ever been around has moved on to football business.
And that, of course, he was talking about. Emmanuel Acho was also part of that conversation. And I think that's a fair delineation, Mike.
Okay, so it is a fair delineation that the coach isn't involved in the health of the player and how they're treated.
Correct.
Now, as far as Joey saying, I've never seen a coach go in and check on a player if he's getting his temperature taken, I'm going to disagree there. If something bad is happening on the field and needs to go into the training room, there are coaches that will go in and see how the situation is going.
Yes.
Not to say that they are saying, move out of the way, trainers, I'm going to start doing everything. They're not going to do that.
Right.
But I've certainly seen coaches in situations where players do a little more than normally falling out when there's an issue going on, go in to see what's happening.
Yes.
So I disagree with Joey a little bit there. But Joey is right in saying, listen, he's not the one shooing away the medical staff and taking over. That's their job to do. What a coach is responsible for, and this is every head coach, a head coach is responsible for the culture of their program.
Correct.
For how that, how that program is going to run. And that ultimately is what is going to do DJ Durkin in. He is not going to be back. But in my opinion, yesterday, because it was brought up about the coach being on administrative leave, and they said due process in that. They've come up with a group, a retired chief judge, a retired judge, senior counsel of a law firm that was involved in the baseball steroids and the Penn State case, and he's going to get a retired coach. They're going to look into the article about the toxic culture. That is what's going to get him fired.
Right.
Also, you're the head coach of a program where a player wasn't properly administered medical treatment the right way and died, and you're the head of that, there's responsibility there as well. But as far as hands-on responsibility, I understand what Joey was saying. To me, I think the delineation yesterday of not talking about the coach and the toxic environment, alleged toxic environment, and I did that with air quotes, was they wanted to focus solely on Jordan McNair, solely on that situation, which involved the strength coach who was running those drills, the training staff which was there and didn't do follow proper protocols for a player in Jordan McNair's condition at the time, which then unfortunately led to his death about 2 weeks later. They want, in my opinion anyway, they wanted to keep the focus on that. They had just come from seeing the parents, and they had seen the parents when Jordan was in the hospital. And we'll get into why we think it took 2 months for that. But to me, as far as that presser and why the coach wasn't brought up and his future was because they wanted to focus on Jordan McNair, that death, how it dealt with the teammates, what it meant for Mark Court, the athletic trainer or the strength coach. Rick Court, who resigned and wrote a letter and resigned from this. And how I believe the head trainer, he'll be gone as well at some point, Wes Robinson. And then they're going to get into, from now, they're going to get into this group of people of 4 looking into these situations of the culture of Maryland football. And that's where I think Durkin will lose his job. I don't think there's any way he steps on the field as Maryland's head coach anymore.
I agree with you. I think the first step was they've already admitted we made mistakes in the handling of Jordan from a training and conditioning and health perspective. So that's going to be one part of it. The other situation, because remember, the ESPN article alluded to the fact that, like, for the first few weeks after Jordan's death, it was different. And then as they got back into camp, it's like the same sort of things that people didn't like or people thought were wrong about bullying and intimidation and all that kind of stuff were going all over again. And I think that's what got people's attention, saying, wait a minute, this just happened and we're going through all of this again. This needs to change. And Paul Finebaum was asked about that on SportsCenter with Michael Eaves.
I don't believe he is going to make it. I say that because of the optics of the press conference today with the President Lowe being so emphatic with an apology, with an indictment of his profound disturbance of what he has seen. I don't know what he knows. I think what they did today, Michael, they had to do from a legal standpoint, but in the end, I believe Durkin will be gone.
What impact do you think it'll have going forward for that Maryland program?
Well, the program, it was coming back, so it's going to be a big blow, but I think if he stays, it's going to be a bigger issue because there's no way he's going to be able to shake this tragedy from him now or his resume.
And I think we all are in agreement there. And Paul will join us a little bit later on in the show this morning, but it won't be the actual death of Jordan McNair that will end DJ Durkin's career. It'll be the other things that came out on that, which they are now reviewing. That's what prompted this extra review from Maryland. And wait a minute, are there systemic things that are going on that should not be handled the way they are being handled? And I think that's the thing that's going to catch up with Durkin.
Yep, I completely agree. And then there's the why did it take 2 months?
Correct.
And listen, the cynic in people want to say they waited, they didn't do it. And now again, they met with Jordan McNair's parents in the hospital when he was put in the hospital. He was there obviously until unfortunately his death. And then before this presser, they just came from talking with them. And a lot of people are saying, why the 2 months? And as far as part of it was, they wanted more answers. Again, they don't have the full report, especially the report of his death, which we believe is heat stroke. But they wanted more answers on some of the things going on, and people to interview, like players and coaches, they waited on that. And the athletic director was asked, why did it take 2 months for university officials to interview players and coaches, which would go into the preliminary report that the president and the AD talked with to Jordan McNair's parents? And the AD said, we wanted to make sure we understood everything and provide the players with counseling and time they might need to heal emotionally. This was a time of grieving. We were focused on making sure they were okay and making sure we had people around them to support them. That was our first priority as it relates to what they were going through, which was a very, very difficult time. Now, some people may hear that and say, well, that's the right thing to do. They had counselors for any of the players that wanted them. And others may say, that's a bunch of hot air. You're just kind of holding everything up or you're only really doing this now because of the report that came out. I'm not going to sit there and criticize anybody for thinking that because we've seen it before.
That's understandable.
Maybe we'll see it again and maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But that was the reason for anybody that was out there wondering. That was one of the reasons part of the preliminary investigation took a couple of months because they waited before they talked to the players and the coaches after that, the death of Jordan McNair.
Exactly. So we'll let this process, and he said that, Wallace, the president said that many times, due process needs to play out, but I think we all know where this due process is headed when it's all said and done. All right, and that was Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. All right, coming up next, Mike, is praise from a cornerback damning a selection by a team in the first round of this year's draft.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
This whole driving the cars without a driver, this automated, I don't like. That's coming down the road.
I kind of like the idea of the automated drivers. You can just sleep. But
do you trust it enough to go to sleep?
No, I don't. I actually don't.
Nobody's driving the car.
That's a problem.
That car is going to take you to the hellhole where all the other cars that are driving people to that same place, to where they just put us in a cage.
The robot factory.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We're done.
We're building our own transportation
we are.
To the death of us with a robot.
We're setting up our own demise. Sports Center brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Do this while you can, gang. Dollar Shave Club has amazing shower, hairstyle, oral care, and yes, shaving products. So no matter how you get ready, they have everything you need. And right now you can get an amazing deal on any one of their starter sets at dollarshaveclub.com/Golic.
All right, as we continue here on Golic and Wingo, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike, after the first week of the preseason, a lot of people are up in arms and very excited about what we're seeing out of the young quarterbacks, whether it's Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, even Lamar Jackson in a limited capacity, because I don't think he's going to see the field much.
Right.
But it feels like, try that again, but it feels like.
There you go.
Oh,
robot radio
there
voice.
You go. Let me get that back. It feels like it's trending towards Sam Darnold maybe being the one guy of these rookie quarterbacks that is going to keep the streak alive. I think of 10 straight seasons.
10 straight seasons. A rookie quarterback is starting week one.
Week one. A lot of people were very impressed with what he was able to do at that first preseason game. Although you, I thought, made a very astute point that, look, all that was great. There were a lot of short throws there.
Yeah. Again, I
turn your mic on. You are a professional.
The rookie quarterbacks all did things I liked. Make no mistake about it. But let's not just all throw roses for everything, okay? Yeah. They weren't all positives. Now, Sam did what he was asked to do. A lot of those were set up to be short passes. And he did. He averaged, I think, 5 yards per attempt. Yeah. It's not very far down the field, guys.
5.3 is not great.
But that's okay.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's wrong. I think it's great. I still look back at the first play for Deshaun Watson. When his first play was a half roll. Cut off half the field. It gave him a couple of options to run. I mean, made it very simple, which I think is just fine to do. Now, Sam made a couple other nice throws, obviously, rolling left down the field, the touchdown throw, but most of the throws were short throws. So, and against second and third teamers. So that's what I'm saying. He did some good things, but let's, if you want to say, okay, you think he's not a deer in headlights, so let's start the Sam Darnold clock going and process because this is kind of where we are. Okay, I can go along with that. But don't say, well, he should be the starter and he's going to be really good based off those, X amount of passes in preseason game number 1. That I have a little issue with.
Yeah, and you should be. And it wasn't too long ago, I think 2009, that a rookie quarterback for the Jets that was drafted in the first round showed all the word was poise, right? That would look at the poise of Mark Sanchez. Where's Mark Sanchez now? Is he still with the Bears?
I'm
not sure.
I don't know.
I think we know he's suspended for the first 4 games.
I guess that's the answer to the question. But I believe he is still with the Bears.
Yeah. So so that's the situation there. So let's be careful what we're seeing and what we're not seeing. But it wasn't just what Sam was able to do in that first preseason game. Now, I think their next game is Thursday night, right, on ESPN.
Yes.
Washington and the Jets. So they're having some joint practices this week. And among those who are also impressed with what they've seen out of young Sam Darnold, a cornerback who really goes through his business not being impressed with anybody, and that would be Washington's Josh Norman.
You go out here and you see him make these throws, I'm like, all right, that's not so much of a college level throw. This little kid is not making mistakes. And he's really accurate. It's kind of like, dang. You get rookies in here and you're trying to mess with them and bait them a little bit and thinking that he's going to throw a route that, you can make a play on, and he's not having it. And it's so crazy to see that at an early age.
The very interesting comments there we get to. Sports Center brought to you by Sport Clips. Do your hair a favor by checking in online and arriving just in time for your Sport Clips MVP haircut experience while you surround yourself with sports on TV. Great cut, massaging shampoo, hot steam towel. Claim your spot today. SportClips.com/check-in. First, we don't know where Mark Sanchez is. I don't think he's with the Bears.
Okay. But that's the point we're making. It was just so long ago. Look at him and all that kind of stuff. Brett wants to get on the air. What is it?
He's a free agent.
He's free agent. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. And then suspended for the first 4
There's the Josh Norman thing, and we hear Josh Norman, one of the great talkers in the game, no doubt about it. So there's two sides to this. One, he really is impressed with Sam Darnold. And two, there's always that, let's build up a guy we don't really have to deal with.
Correct.
We don't got I'm in Washington, he's with the Jets.
The LeBron James scenario, right?
That's exactly right. Build up people you don't really have to go against or deal with and make them sound better. It sounded, as you want to say, if you want to look into it, sounded pretty sincere about.
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to the word we used before. He's showing some poise.
Yeah.
He definitely, and I thought a lot of those rookie quarterbacks did that. That's one thing because you don't always want to go on the numbers, but you want to see how they looked. And he did look pretty poised in the pocket.
Well, his nickname at USC was the DNA because of the way he carried himself. Yep. And the great story about Sam, he was the second blue chip quarterback to sign at USC. Another guy had already been committed there, and it's very rare for another blue chip to follow another blue chip. He went to the coaching staff and said, best guy wins, right? Best guy starts, and by the time the first preseason or the first game had rolled around, he was there and the other guy had transferred. So that's what you like about Sam. But again, it's a long process.
Yes, it
is.
It's
a very long process, and we'll see how that plays out. Coming up, how close is Tiger Woods to actually winning that elusive 15th major? We'll ask the person who's arguably closest to him more than anybody. We'll get to that in a minute.
Message and data rates may apply.
When did it become okay for men to be lazier, softer, fatter? We need to bring the men of this country back to greatness with Ageless Male Max, a patent-pending formula with an ingredient that helps boost your total testosterone, promoting greater increases in muscle size and twice the reduction of body fat percentage than exercise alone. Plus, an amazing 64% increase in nitric oxide, which can be handy in the gym and in the bedroom. Take your manhood to the max by trying your first 30-day bottle free. Not 10 days, not 15 days, but a full 30-day supply free when you text the word SKILL to $79.79.79. Just pay shipping and handling. Finally, a formula that boosts total testosterone. If your results with Ageless Male Max are too intense, please decrease use. For your free bottle, text SKILL to 797979. Text SKILL to 797979.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Trying to get you with the heavy metal grind through your Wednesday morning. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We, as always, are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can get in touch with us through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed or call in 860-506-5505. Speaking of Bretomology's coming up a little bit later. We're excited about that. See if I can continue the hot streak that I've been on a little bit and figuring out the words and phrases and their origins. We'll get to that a little bit later. We'll also have a very special guest in just a few minutes who knows maybe more than anybody else just where Tiger Woods' game is. We'll get to that in a few seconds as well. But as always, Mike, we got to start the top of the hour with what we like to call What's Trending. And his game is trending, and that would be Ronald Acuna Jr. Another day, another leadoff homer who led off the Braves' 10-6 win over the Marlins with a long ball. He would add another home run later in the game. He's now homered in 5 straight and 7 of his last 8. It's ridiculous what he's doing right now. I just asked Brett, like elite home run hitters, how many at-bats per home run? He said around 12, you thought, right in that area there. Well, Acuna has 264 at-bats and 19 home runs. Quick math says that's in the area of 13. And let me be clear, nobody does quick math better than you. Nobody. You can check my math, Brett, but I think it's in the 13 area of every 13 at-bats. He's hitting a home run. Yeah. And from that leadoff spot, again, since he's taken on, and he's 20, so it's not like he's been a leadoff hitter for a long time. No. He has 12 home runs as a leadoff hitter. The other leadoff hitters for Atlanta combined this year have 10. Yeah. So, I mean, he is absolutely on fire with what he's doing. And, oh, by the way, the Braves are sitting atop that division, 2 games clear of the Phillies at this point. Yep. And again, the record for most consecutive games with a home run hit in Major League Baseball history is 8. 3 players have done that. I think it was in the 60s or 50s. Dale Long of the Pirates, Don Mattingly in 1986, if I'm not mistaken, and Ken Griffey Jr., the 3 people that have done that, and he's 3 home runs and 3 games away from tying that mark. We continue with what's trending, and not a great look for Ben Roethlisberger and his health, but also not maybe too much of a concern. No, at this point, when you hear of a quarterback going in concussion protocol at practice, I'm sure a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, they have a cone of silence around them. You're not allowed anywhere near them to hit them. And so how did this happen? It's kind of a freaky play. How it happened was a goal line play. It was rolling right tackle Marcus Gilbert was blocking Keon Adams, the linebacker. They were engaged, and basically Roethlisberger basically ran into them and fell on the ground, and when he fell, his head hit the ground. That was it. That's what happened. Got up on his own, and there were teammates there that said, Ben said to them, I'm fine, I'm good, but he is in concussion protocol. I think the last time he was in that was 2015. Yes. He wasn't going to play this week anyway, so it's not like it's stopping that from going on, but something you don't want to hear from any player, let alone your quarterback, really. As I said, any player in the preseason to have to go through something like that. Yeah, the last time you mentioned it was in 2015. It was a hit against Seattle. Michael Bennett tackled him in that game, and that was one of the things where it was sort of lauded as one of the first times a player basically took himself out of a game with the new concussion protocols. Basically, he didn't feel right, so he alerted the medical staff to it. And we made the point on NFL Live at the time. Obviously, depending on where you are in your career and where you are contractually, it's certainly a lot easier to do that when you have a $100 million contract and a couple of Super Bowl wins as opposed to a gunner on a special team squad. That's exactly right. I mean, not taking anything away from Ben for being smart there. We're just saying, look, that's a much easier decision for him to make. There's a difference in mentality of knowing you can get back on the field as opposed to if you walk off the field, you may never get back on. Exactly. Yep. So an interesting scenario coming up in the preseason. The last game of last season was the Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Patriots, where, of course, the Eagles shocked the world and won 41-33.
And now week 2 of the preseason, guess who plays each other?
It would be the Eagles and the Patriots.
In Foxborough, by the way. Now, Lane Johnson, the fine right tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, friend of the show, and has been on with us, and it was one of the guys that started the whole underdog thing, wearing the dog masks and all of that. He's been outspoken this offseason about how he feels about, hey, not everybody has to do it the Patriot way to win, blah, 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 blah. And let's just say he careth not what he hears from Patriots fans coming up in Foxborough this weekend.
When it was brought up to him, he may get some backlash from the fans. He said, I hope so. I hope they raise hell. Bottom line, he said, they can cuss me. They can say whatever they want. At the end of the day, I'm not blocking them. I'm blocking guys on the edge, so it really doesn't matter what they say. And you go back to the shots that you said. Basically, he talked about the Patriots said he'd rather win the one Super Bowl the way they had fun than the many Super Bowls that the Patriots won, talking about saying it's a fear-based organization and referred to their players as robots.
Yeah. No.
Patriot players as robots, don't do it. Don't do that, Lane.
Well, that would make them Skynet.
Enough. Yeah, we don't want that.
And that would be Belichick, the head of Skynet.
Yeah.
So, see what happens?
2-2.
See what happens.
4.
Well, see, that's what happens, by the way, when you have consistent winners. Everybody's trying to take shots at the guys who are consistently winning and winning all the time. Someone who used to win all the time, was a guy who, many ways, performed like a robot during the heights of his career, and that would be Tiger Woods, who gave us that thrill ride Sunday at PGA. Yes, which was won by Brooks Koepka with a remarkable performance.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely. He won. There's no question about it, but there's also no question who moved the needle, and that was Tiger Woods. Again, Tiger Woods in golf is the needle. The final numbers were in, and Mike, 73% higher. It was 70 on the overnights, 73%
70
higher.
Again, understand this, people.
Yeah.
In the third round, 54% higher than the year before. In the final round, 73% higher than the year before. The last time they were that high was 2009, when some guy named Tiger Woods was doing his thing.
Exactly. So what
it is.
Exactly. So what was it like to be inside the ropes, watching that thrill show and seeing those throngs of St. Louis sports fans get out there and just scream their heads off at what was presumably a PGA championship? It seemed more like a rock concert or Lollapalooza with the crowds. It was absolutely great. Well, no one would know that better than our next guest, Tiger's caddy, Joe LaCava, who joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Joe, thanks for being with us this morning. First and foremost, even though you guys didn't win, how much fun was that Sunday at Bellerive at the PGA?
Well, good morning, guys. I mean, I can't even tell you how much fun it was. My son came out for the weekend, and he said to me, Dad, is it always like this? And I said, no, this is bedlam out here. Yeah. I said, no, it was crazy. These guys haven't had a golf event or a big sporting event, I guess, in quite a while, and they were hungry for it, and they came out in droves, and they were fantastic.
You know, some of the things, Joe, that you don't see, even though we saw every one of Tiger's shot, there's still time away from Tiger. And with all those fans there, and listen, 99% of them are great. And we know there are the 1 or 2%ers that sometimes aren't. And the caddy, a lot of times your responsibility is keeping those people controlled around Tiger, which some people would say good luck at times. How was that? Did you have any issues with any of the people there through all that time?
Not at all. And you hit it right on the head. 99% of the guys and women are behind Tiger, pushing for Tiger. They want to see good golf in general. They're not anti the other guys, but they're certainly rooting for Tiger more so than the other guys. But funny you guys asked that question. The week before in Akron, I had a little incident with a guy who was harassing my guy on the 14th hole at Akron the last day outside the ropes, roughing him up pretty good. And I said, listen, bud, why do you got to go there? I said, everyone's having a good time. Everyone's pulling for Tiger. If you don't like the guy, that's one thing. But you don't need to be yelling at my guy and screaming negative stuff like that. And I said, at the end of the day, if you affect him, his performance there, it affects my bottom line. So he calls me a couple of names, and I go back and forth with the guy. And I said, why don't you just leave? He goes, well, if you give me $25 for the ticket that I bought today, I'll leave. And I said, here you go. Here's $25.
Did he leave?
Yeah, no. So I whip out $25, and he starts to go down the 14th fairway towards the greens. I said, look, pal, 25 is 25. You got to head the other way. So he starts to head the other way. He goes 20 yards down the line, and he calls me a swear word. So I run 20 yards back the other way. We're going face to face with this guy, and all of a sudden Tiger's looking for yards, and I'm in it with this guy 20 yards down the line. So some cop has to come in, push this guy out of the way, and takes him out of the tournament.
Good. Well,
that is awesome. What did Tiger say to you when you came back to give him yardage?
Well, it's a great question. We were so far to the right in the trees, and he was on his third shot, believe it or not, and we were still 150 yards away from the green. And he didn't really know what happened. He heard the commotion. He heard the guy yelling at him, because we talked about it after the fact. But he didn't really know how it developed. And he says, I was wondering what happened. He goes, normally you don't take that long to get the yards. I said, well, it was a little incident down the road. He didn't have a problem with it. And actually, I got a standing ovation for kicking the guy out of there.
There you go. Nicely done. Hey, look,
right.
He gave you a number. That's the whole thing in negotiations. Exactly right. Give me a number, and we'll make it work. And that's exactly what it was. Joe LaCava.
I'll buy you out anytime, pal.
Joe LaCava with us. By the way, a Connecticut native who's been here his entire life, who's had a great career pre-Tiger, was with Freddie Couples for a long time. Were you on his bag at the 92 Masters champion?
I'm showing my age, but yes, I was.
There you go. So he was there with Freddie in 92, then was with Dustin Johnson for a few years, world's number one, and now with the guy who was number one for longer than anybody, Tiger Woods. Listen, the thing that was amazing about us, Joe, watching that final round Sunday is that, as you well know, the front nine was a completely different dynamic depending on what was happening in Tiger's bag. From the tee, didn't hit a fairway. With an iron in his hand, it didn't matter. From a bunker, from the rough, it was a stripe show, his iron play. Did you see that iron play coming in the warm-up session?
In the warm-up session, he never missed an 8-iron, and they have TrackMan on the range. So, and again, we're all pretty good on the range. I get that part of it. But, his ball wasn't curving much on the range. He was dialed in. His forehand was going 218, 219, 220. The 8-iron was going 166, 167, 168, and dropping on the same 10, 8, or 10 in a row. So, his irons were pretty dialed in. Over the weekend, he fought a little bit off the tee, but like you said, he made up for it from wherever he was and made the most of it. We go back to Saturday, the back nine. I'm telling you guys, I don't know if he hit quite as well as he did over the week on Sunday, but if he could drop a couple of those putts on Saturday, certainly would have made life a lot easier come Sunday. But all in all, it was a great iron play all weekend.
No, I agree with you, Joe, because I was watching that back nine. I think there were 5 or 6 straight greens where he had a birdie putt inside 20 feet and nothing dropped. I mean, people are like, the back nine gave him problems. I'm like, you were watching Saturday if you think that the back nine is – I mean, he hit those irons well. You're right, nothing dropped on Saturday. Yeah,
I mean, he literally – he couldn't – Tenny made a nice par, but he could have birdied 11 through 18, including an eagle. When I say could have, I mean, they're not all 10-footers and 8-footers, but he had a shortish one on 12. I mean, he basically had a 7-footer right edge on 14, and then he had a great look for eagle on 17. So you're right. I mean, he could have shot 30, 32. Probably would have been realistic on that back nine on Saturday night, shooting even par, and that was the difference come Sunday. But that tells you how good he was hitting the irons both days.
Talking to Joe LaCava, Tiger Woods caddy since 2011. Again, caddy for Freddie Couples for more than 20 years as well. Dustin Johnson as well, as Trey had mentioned. So take us inside the ropes a little bit where we'll never be able to go. And when Tiger is struggling off the tee like that, and really for any caddy, for any golfer, that relationship of what's the conversation when you hear announcers saying, or people on Twitter, Joe's got to take that driver and snap it over his knee and not let him use it. What goes on? What are those conversations when the struggle is off the tee, or really anywhere on the course?
That's a great question, Mike. For example, on Sunday, we get up there on number 9, and he's got a 2-iron in his hand, not a very hard fairway to hit. And I basically just kind of whispered to him over the tee because I don't want to make a big deal of it. I said, look, let's just try to find some rhythm and timing, take that range swing here and hit this fairway. And I had to kind of, make a light moment of it. I said, it can't be that hard. I think I could hit this fairway. And so, of course, sure enough, he follows up probably with the worst tee shot of the morning. I mean, hit it way left, almost out of bounds. And that's when he says, I can't swing with the shirt on. It's sticking to me. It was all hot. As you know, he went through 3 shirts a day because it was so hot down there. So he ends up changing the shirt, and that's when he hit that 9-iron to about 10 feet. I'm not saying that's the reason he started playing decent golf after that, but it's funny. You have to say certain things to these guys, and sometimes you have to make light of it because, we hadn't hit a fairway. Sometimes I joke, so that Tiger can hear going down certain holes, I'll joke to the other caddy. I said, how are the fairways? Are they in good shape today? And so, you just try to make a little bit of a light of it. I haven't seen a fairway, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you didn't get the first fairway till 10. I mean, it was unbelievable. Okay, but that round, Joe, was in many ways vintage Tiger because, as you said, on that front side, you're 3 under par, and he didn't hit a fairway. To me, that shot on 7 might have been the defining. I get it. He dropped it on the pin on 1, 2, and 3, and he missed the shorty on 1, but made him on 2 and 3. But when you hit it so far left on 7, and then he ropes that, what was it, a 9-iron or 8-iron to within 15 feet, and made that birdie putt, I think that's when he got the first big fist pump. Did it feel like that really got his round going that day?
I think, well, yes. I mean, I think the first couple holes he played very well. And we got kind of lucky on 2 when it didn't go in the water.
Right.
But I think the saves on 4 and 5 were huge to keep the round going because those are the toughest holes on the front 9. So I think making pars on 4 or 5. Like I said, it's early on, but you still don't want to make bogeys after you made a couple birdies early. You could have birdied the first 3 holes, birdied 2 of the first 3, but you wouldn't want to follow with 2 bogeys and even par the 6th tee, which is a tough hole as it is. So I think the par saves on 4 and 5 were huge to keep the momentum going.
Even though, Joe, you were out on the course when you weren't Tiger's caddy, you saw kind of how it could be or was with him when he was at the top of his game. But when you took his bag in 2011, at what point from that point on, when you were responsible for him, when you first really realized, wow, this is so different than anybody else for what you have to deal with everything that goes along with Tiger Woods?
Right. Well, one of the reasons that I look back and say, man, I'm glad that I took the job or got the opportunities because his ball just makes a different sound on the range. These guys are all phenomenal. They all hit it great. Obviously, all hit a flush. But there's a different sound when you stand behind him and watch him hit balls on the range. So that's kind of the reason I went with Tiger and always wanted to work for the guy. But going back a little bit even further, I worked for Fred for 21 years. The crowds weren't nearly as big back in the day. But Fred did have the biggest of all the crowds. So I was used to all that kind of stuff. But now we obviously have a different era where everyone's got a phone, people are moving around, they all want to take a video, so on and so forth. So it can be bedlam in a good way out there, but there is a lot to the job in terms of crowd control and stuff like that. But again, back to what you guys said earlier, 99% of the people are are rooting for the guy and in his corner. So it's easy because they're not bad, but it's just a lot of movement, a lot of running around, a lot of cameras going off, stuff like that. So there's a lot to do with the crowd control and stuff like that today.
Yeah, there's certainly more static around whatever group Tiger
Correct.
is, and you have to be able to deal with all that as Tiger Woods caddy Joe LaCava is with us. Now, I want to ask you specifically about 18, Joe, because I think at that point, after making a miraculous par on 17 when his ball was in the hazard, by not making birdie on 17, I think you guys had to realize, okay, we're not going to win this thing. Yet when he made the birdie on 18, he let loose with an unbelievable fist pump. Was that just because, A, it was a great birdie to close out what was a stellar week for him at the PGA? B, was it because he realized he had just shot a 64 on a Sunday at a major, something he had never done before? Or was it potentially C, this weekend in the final 3 rounds, maybe finally was the mental hurdle for him to say, I can do this again and I can win a major again?
I think a little all of the above. I don't think he realizes that he's shooting 64 at the time. I don't think he thinks at the time it's his lowest career round in a major. I think, after he hit the shot in there on 18, he looked at me and goes, all I can do is make the putt. That's the best we can do. As if to say, basically back to your point, it's probably over, but in case it's not, I got to still make the best score I can possibly make on this hole. And obviously everyone wants to end on a good note after making, like you said, a relatively average par on the hole before. So I think it was just sort of one of those things where let's finish the day in the right way, make a 3, and that's the best score I can do at this point. And I did it, and that's what he's happy with.
Joe LaCava joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, been Tiger Woods caddy since 2011. All right, Joe, I have 3, a little more on the quicker side questions for you.
Sure.
True or false, you once beat Tiger in a game of horse?
Correct, true.
Did you smoke him, or was it close?
8 in a row.
Hey, there you go.
Wow.
And how upset was he?
Not happy. He didn't talk to me for 24 hours, wasn't invited for the meal that night.
That is awesome. All right, Tiger, we always know, wears red on Sundays. Do you have any superstitions?
I don't, and I stay away from red and black on Sunday, that's for sure. No superstitions.
Yeah.
And last but not least, have you booked off the end of September in France as a trip?
Wow, that's a great question. I have no plans for that week. Let me put it that way.
we love.
By the way, for those that may not know, that's when the Ryder Cup is.
Right, and Tiger's 11th in the standings. 8 automatically make it. By the way, Joe, I don't know if you saw Jim Furyk's press conference Monday talking about because everyone wanted to talk about Tiger. Is he going to be on the cup and on the team? And Jim, to his credit, is like, I'm here to talk about the 8 guys. And well, he certainly is trending in the right direction.
Right.
He was doing everything he could to not answer the question without answering the question.
Right. No, I don't know. I don't know any more than anybody else knows. But here I'll play the captain obvious role. I'd like to think he's going to be picked. He's playing better than most guys outside the top 8. So I mean, come on, let's be honest. It's probably a no-brainer.
There you go. And the other thing is, listen. Come in 2019. Are we talking about 15th major for Tiger Woods? Do you think it's happening?
he's, I don't want to use his phrase, trending in the right direction, but I don't see why not. I mean, he's playing well. He's got a lot of confidence right now. And I think, obviously, being in the mix of these big tournaments proves to him that he can get it done and certainly compete with these young guys that are all playing very well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was just great to see him interacting with the fans.
It was.
Like, in between the tees, giving high fives. Yeah. That was a sign to me that Tiger was loving this as much as everybody else was, which was very cool.
Very, very cool to see.
He definitely seems to be enjoying it more for sure, guys.
Yeah. Joe, best of luck in the upcoming tournaments. I know the FedEx, and then enjoy your trip to France as well.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we'll be at the Northern Trust. We'll look for you there. Maybe we'll take a game of horse with you.
You got it.
Joe LaCava, Tigers caddy. Awesome. That was a great story. Beat him 8 times in a row at horse and didn't get invited to the meal.
I love it. Dude got in the face and the dude gave him $25 to leave the tournament. There's no way that guy left. Well, he just went to a different hole.
Well, I think he said the cops escorted him out.
Okay, well, that's great. That's awesome.
My favorite part was he said, well, listen, what would it take for you to leave? How about the $25 I got for the ticket? Here it is. Yeah. Goodbye.
You gave him a number.
They gave him a number. You met the number. That's how negotiations work.
That was awesome.
Great having Joe on. Hopefully we'll look to have him on a little more in the future as we get set with the FedEx and the Ryder Cup going on for Tiger Woods. It's going to happen. Just understand that.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. Well, as we continue on a Wednesday morning, Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance, and we are still dealing with the fallout of the unfortunate death of Jordan McNair at the University of Maryland from heat stroke. We had that remarkable press conference yesterday, Mike.
Yeah, which you and I both thought was pretty strong, and you keep hearing that coming back. We're talking about that's our own Ian Fitzsimmons, who thought it was weak because it was 2 months after the fact, and he thought it was take that weak apology. He really wants nothing to do with it. I somewhat disagree with that. Yeah. I thought it was to come out and take responsibility. Even when faced with what looks like you're at fault, you rarely hear universities or companies or corporations come out and say, we accept moral and legal responsibility for everything. They're usually still trying to CYA this thing, but they took that and you know, again, I can't sit there and argue if you want to be a cynic about it because we've seen it time and time again, but I thought it was pretty strong for the president to come out and say what he said.
I did too, but I think the other side of that is, would he have said that had we not had that expose on ESPN.com
about
what the allegations at this point of a toxic culture, and he alluded to that in this independent board that's going to review the situation. They'll have that done by early September, and he said we'll present it to Jordan McNair's family, and then it will be open to the public. So they're being very transparent about this going forward. For more on this, let's bring in SEC Network's Paul Finebaum, who joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. The Paul Finebaum Show weekdays from 3 to 7 on ESPN Radio and Sirius XM Channel 81. Paul, what was your immediate takeaway from what you heard from not only the athletic director, but from Maryland President Wallace Lowe yesterday?
I thought President Lowe had the right tone, and yes, you are correct. It was late, but on the other hand, without the ESPN report, the university had already moved on. Don't forget that Damon Evans was named full-time athletic director while this was all being investigated, and while many are questioning or praising Damon Evans, you have to take a good look at how he got this job. In 2010, Damon Evans was fired as athletic director at the University of Georgia after police pulled him over in Atlanta and cited him for DUI while he had a woman in his car that was not his wife. And I say this because I'm quoting from the police report. There was he also had a pair of red panties between his legs, and he lied to his superiors at the time. He was summarily fired. It took him a long time to regain his foothold in the industry, and he finally got this job while this was going on. I say that because he has credibility issues in the past. He still was named the athletic director by President Lowe. Now, moving beyond that issue, what we have seen and what the president expressed yesterday was the correct thing to say at this point in time. This is an outrageous miscarriage of justice, and there is simply no way to allow DJ Durkin to remain as the head football coach. This is his program. These are his hires. He brought these individuals in to change the culture, and this is the result. Therefore, he should be held accountable.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think Trey does as well. We don't think there's any way once this investigation goes forward in the group that President Lowe got together that Durkin is going to survive this at all, or Wes Robinson, the head trainer. I'm somewhat shocked he still has a job. We unfortunately, Paul, have seen and read about and gone through a lot of scandals, all of us, that have gone on in college sports. I don't recall seeing such incredible just lack of preparation at all for an athlete who is hurting, in this case, for the heat and the tired, and what was not done. There's a lot of people that are at fault, but for what was not done in this day and age, where in 2001, Corey Stringer from the Minnesota Vikings died of heat stroke, and the advances that we've made, how surprised were you when you just started to hear that the things that just weren't done in this situation?
Well, you have to be surprised, Mike, and I'll just give you an example. We were watching some of the coverage last night, my wife and I, and she's a physician, and she was literally, she had not paid much attention to this until now, and she was screaming at the television because, you don't have to be a certified trainer at this level to understand this. Common sense indicates that they did all the wrong things, and that's what I can't understand. And I know a lot of people are getting hung up on it, but there's no disputing that the people on the scene terribly erred, and that brings you back to the culture. And Mike, I'll defer to you on this, but when you there are quotations out there from Durkin of why he brought in the people he brought in. He brought them in to change the culture. You've been part of programs like that. You've seen this. You've had children part of programs like this. That's one of the first things coaches do. Everyone wants to look at Alabama and why is Nick Saban successful? Because a lot of people give credit to his strength and conditioning coach, Scott Cochran. But that's how you start a program. So if you're changing the culture, you're going to be held responsible for the culture. But back to the initial question, this is a textbook case of how to do something wrong and incorrect. And I'm not saying it's simple, because it's not. You're talking about a hot day, and athletes are competing and running and working out at a high level. But this death should have been avoided, and that was what President Lowe said yesterday. And that will be, unfortunately, the tag of this entire story.
No, absolutely. As Paul Finebaum is with us from the SEC Network and the Paul Finebaum Show. So we know there's going to be, when this thing is done, there's going to be massive changes at the University of Maryland. And rightfully so, because A, of what happened to Jordan McNair and the things that weren't done to him from a medical perspective, and then B, the culture. If those allegations in the ESPN.com article are proved true, there's no way DJ Durkin can survive that. The question then going forward, Paul, what ramifications, if any, do you think this will have for other programs seeing what happened at Maryland?
Well, there has to be a trickle effect and a chilling effect on college football across the board. And I think that's another subset of what we've been talking about today and last week with Urban Meyer. In the aftermath of Urban situation, and I know every athletic director and every staff got together and talked about these issues. And this is even more at the forefront because of the loss of life. I'm not trying to equivocate one situation versus the other, but we are now in the final 2 weeks of fall training. Most of the heavy lifting has been done, but in my mind, you're going to have a lot of serious conversations between head coaches and their strength and conditioning people, and saying, "Listen, are we doing it right? Or are we doing it correctly?" And I suspect you're going to see some coaches have their people take the foot off the pedal a little bit, because this is too serious right now. And anytime a story like this becomes at the forefront, it's going to come out somewhere else. I mean, already today, you've seen the report of Jabril Peppers talking about Durkin at Michigan, this is his reputation. I was reading a story today about the competitive nature of Durkin, that he was a longtime staffer under Jim Harbaugh. He said they played when they were together at Stanford, Harbaugh and Durkin played a one-on-one basketball game that went for 90 minutes. There were no fouls called, and Harbaugh was quoted later saying that there was plenty of blood on the floor. I mean, that's the competitive nature of people. We know Jim Harbaugh, we know football coaches, but that doesn't read very well in the aftermath of a death when Durkin is at the head of this particular program.
No doubt, as Paul Finebaum joins us, no doubt that line, and as you mentioned, I was part of it, my kids were part of it, the line can be very blurred of competitive nature to stepping over the line. As far as where we are going to assess blame here and guilt, we heard the president clearly define that this was on the training staff, not the coaching staff. As far as where this ends up, Paul, should Wallace Lowe, the president, and Damon Evans, the AD, be held responsible and disciplined for this?
Well, that's interesting, because Lowe is ultimately the CEO of the school, although he did make it clear he appointed this committee. I think Lowe he's 72 years old, so I'm not sure his future is terribly in doubt. But I think Damon Evans is really at the center of this. Can you trust this man to lead your program through a crisis while he was at the interim position of running that athletic department while it was going on? I think there are going to be a lot of calls for his dismissal as well. The president's a little trickier, and I know that he's ultimately the president of the university, but I find it difficult to blame the president who's sitting across campus in an ivory tower about something that happens in an off-season workout. But in the end, I think they'll all be gone. And that is, you can quibble about that, but it's hard to clean up a culture of a football program and of an athletic department when the same person is in charge. And the one thing that Damon Evans said yesterday that really did irritate me is when he said that, I was unaware of this. Mike, if you're the athletic director or even the assistant athletic director on a campus, you know what's going on. And by the way, if you don't, you should. That's part of your job, is to walk around every day to see what's happening at basketball practice, at lacrosse practice, and especially at a football practice or a basketball practice. And for him to act like he didn't know, then that he may have answered his own question or your question about whether he should remain.
Well, that's going to be the thing going forward. They have this committee that they've set up, and we'll find out what the end result will be in September. But I think we all have a pretty strong idea about where this is headed. Paul, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Thanks.
Thanks, Paul.
Always a pleasure, guys. See you soon.
You got it.
It's a great question. Yeah. We always say this about coaches. What do you know? What should you know? And if you don't know, is that a problem? And you could say the same with the AD, especially, let's be honest, ADs know where their bread is buttered.
Right.
And at some schools, it's basketball. A lot of schools, it's football. So you damn well should know what's going on, especially if it's as toxic as the reports are about this, as we're going to probably find out.
And you heard Paul allude to what Jabril Peppers had to say about DJ Durkin. He spoke on the Rich Eisen show on Tuesday and said, Coach Durkin, a different kind of guy. His tactics were different. It felt extreme at times. I'm just as shocked as reading all the stuff that's going on. I thought he was only like that because it was his first time coaching. The way I would describe it, it was kind of like a bully coach. I don't think he meant anything by it. It was just how it comes up. So that sort of reputation
kind of fits. He's not going to coach Maryland again. Matt Canada is the interim coach. Matt Canada, who is an offensive-minded guy, very a very offensive-minded guy, is the interim coach, and I believe he will be coaching the team this season.
And again, we'll see what happens when that report comes back. Coming up, is nothing sacred anymore? Bingo, lunch money.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, Golic and Wingo here with you. Normally at this time we play Brettomology, but we're a little short on time, and we don't want to short our great researcher, Brett, in one of the great segments in the long and illustrious history of this show.
There you go.
So we're going to do that in about 10 or 15 minutes. We're going to do Brettomology. But we had to get to some of these stories, Mike. Nothing is sacred anymore. Okay?
No, it's not.
First of all, okay, this is why robot technology is taking over the world, because a 6-year-old can now scam their parents.
How about that?
A 6-year-old secretly ordered $350 worth of toys off Amazon. Not only did she do that, she was smart enough to do the one-day delivery option, so all these toys came the next day,
and
that's
cost a lot.
And that's how the parents found out about it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Was it $350 again in one day? Are you kidding me? A 6-year-old.
Yeah.
A 6-year-old.
So that's a problem.
Shame on the parents for that one.
Correct. How about this? A bingo caller at a center in Westchester County arrested for gaming fraud.
Yeah.
Is accused of manipulating the results of the weekly contest held at the Yorktown Jewish Center.
Bingo!
So you can't trust a 6-year-old with Amazon. You can't trust what goes on at a gaming center. And then maybe the worst.
This is unreal.
Of all of this. And these are my people. I'm from Fairfield County, so I understand the dollars involved here.
This is New Canaan, Connecticut. This is where
the Gold Coast, baby.
This is where like kindergarten will cost you like $50,000 a year.
Correct. Nothing comes cheap.
Holy
including
smokes.
the crimes by cafeteria workers. Lunch money. They stole almost $500,000 in lunch money in New Canaan, Connecticut.
Again, they're the lunch ladies, and at the register when they're taking the money, they're putting some in and taking a little bit out. Putting some in, taking a little bit out. And from 2012 to 2017, they took out nearly $500,000 in cash.
Listen, man, nothing comes cheap in Fairfield County. I'm telling you. So that's why you need to be careful, even with the lunch lady.
Somebody stole all our lunches. Who would steal 30-bag lunches?
You just got to be careful.
You would.
That's a nice lunch lady making the sloppy joes. Okay.
They turned themselves in over the weekend and were released on $50,000 bond, which I'm assuming they had from the $500,000 that they stole in lunch money.
Easily had the money to pay that bond.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So again,
they were accused of underreporting how much cash they had been collecting. Yeah, because it was sticking in their hand.
Correct. So you can't trust lunch workers, you can't trust bingo, and you can't trust your 6-year-old with a computer. My God, where are we? Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance. Who?
Robots.
Right. Yeah, let's trust those guys. They're going to be the end of us. Let's drive the self-driving car.
Yeah.
Go over there. It's called the Recyclable Center for Humans. We're going to make you into something else. Be afraid, people. Be very afraid. Coming up, a quarterback that has some issues, and we have Brettomology. It's all ahead on a robot-free Golic and Wingo.
Message and data rates may apply.
When did it become okay for men to be lazier, softer, fatter? We need to bring the men of this country back to greatness with Ageless Male Max, a patent-pending formula with an ingredient that helps boost your total testosterone, promoting greater increases in muscle size and twice the reduction of body fat percentage than exercise alone. Plus, an amazing 64% increase in nitric oxide, which can be handy in the gym and in the bedroom. Take your manhood to the max by trying your first 30-day bottle free. Not 10 days, not 15 days, but a full 30-day supply free when you text the word SKILL to $79.79.79. Just pay shipping and handling.